on the Costa Concordia, the shipwreck outside of Italy. So this is a video the guy's kind of describing about what really happened and everything.
Tuscany, they just started out, they're only about 4 hours in, somewhere in that area. They hit a rock, it's nighttime, and they sail on, initially, apparently with some idea of getting to a port or doing something else. Instead, they move on for some distance and begin to turn. If they had started evacuating at the very moment that they sensed that they had a problem out here, according to industry standards, in about 30 minutes' time, they should have had everyone off of this ship. Now, I want to stress to you the size of this vessel, because that's important. This is about 2.5 to 3 football fields in length. It is much, much bigger than the Titanic. About twice as many people were on board at the time that this happened, between all of the passengers and the crew. So you had a whole city moving on the water here, as you've often heard it described. It's very accurate. Nonetheless, they made this turn, and then they had to deal with the reality of what had happened to them. Yes, ships like this are designed with watertight compartments which are supposed to keep them afloat even after some accidents. But, very much like the Titanic, as people have been noting all day, this appears to have made a rip down the side of the ship which could have affected many more than one compartment and created a problem. A big rip down the side. You see some details there. Here's some more here. Look at how huge this is. It was probably traveling about 16 to 18 miles an hour after you converted out of knots at the time of the impact. So you can see that the impact is really quite enormous here. But look at the ship itself. They have 11 different layers here before you get to these top ones up here. This is a cross-section of it. This truly is a tremendous amount of space, and consider what was going on. Right now, this is where the ship stands. If you were on the top deck and you could go inside, judging from the photographs, you'd have water covering about this much of the deck up here. As you move down, though, and you start getting into the first areas of cabins, you can see that it's heavier in here, heavier in here. At one end of this, once you move a little bit further down, you get into many more cabins with a lot more water down here. Remember, people were trying to get out of here in the dark, and initially without being told that they had to get off the ship. That's what we're told, at least at this point. And the further down in the ship you go, you can see how the water now is occupying much more of the area. Get down into this area where there actually is a theater in this ship that goes over 3 stories down here. That theater now is probably completely underwater. There was a casino in here. There were many restaurants down here. Many people were dining at the time, we're told. This area is completely underwater. And by the time you work all the way down to the lowest cabins in here, Wolf, look at this. Right now, you're talking about all of these cabins, all in here, on the bottom decks being completely submerged at this point, or at least very, very close to it. This is essentially the problem, Wolf. Everyone went into dark. There were language problems. There were a lot of people on a ship that had just started sailing, so even though they're required to have safety drills in the first 24 hours, it's not clear yet whether they had one. It doesn't seem that they did. It was going to happen the next morning, we believe. So the simple truth is, time started passing from the time they hit. There was no clear order for everyone to evacuate, and things got worse from that point. And this is where we stand at this point, Wolf. A lot of questions, a lot of damage, and I know there are a lot of stories for investigators to collect from all these people on board to say what went wrong.
Yeah, I've heard some say, Tommy.
Okay, so what else happened when the cruise ship sank? At the night, the captain said that he had done this maneuver many times, and so whenever he got in close to shore, he actually turned off the navigation. Said that Shatino told the crew to lie about them hitting the rocks. He just said that nothing happened and nothing was wrong. He also abandoned ship 1 hour after it hit, and it took 6 hours to get everybody else off the ship. And none of the crew had any training for any accident like this at all.
Mario Palombo, Francisco Chinito's former mentor. In many cases, he preferred to lie to me rather than tell me the truth and admit mistakes. During the ship's christening, the bottle never broke, so that's a bad omen. And then the captain also had poor eyesight and forgot his glasses on the trip, so he could not even see the navigation. That's when he turned it off instead of having someone else do it.
What to do in a dire situation. The crew is to be sure that each lifeboat is full before it goes in the water. No one is to turn off the navigation. And crew members will not accept bribes. They've actually have eyewitnesses of people getting off the ships before anyone else, rich Russians getting off. It's been said that crew members accepted bribes from them in order to get off the ship. And any disabled body person is to get off first, along with the women and children.
Every crew member will know the safety management code. Not too many crew members knew anything about what to do to help the passengers out. If the captain is impaired in any way, then he is to be removed from duty with an immediate replacement. You know, there have been some talks about him doing some drinking while he was up in the, you know, cabin, up in the wheelhouse and stuff, and you know, they didn't really have an immediate replacement for him because none of the crew members said anything about him being somewhat impaired. All the crew members will go through a 5-day training course. There's also been talks about the crew members not going through any training course at all. They just got hired on. And it's followed by a simulation. Again, like that video said about the safety, you're supposed to have a training. Like the video said, never happened. It's supposed to be happening the next morning.
So these things that we just said are the things that could have helped prevent it. So if they would have done that, then that accident would have never happened.
And one more thing, take a wild guess on who was the first one off the ship.
Captain.
Yep, first one off the ship. Captain's never supposed to be the first one off the ship. He's supposed to be on the ship helping out the passengers and helping with the crew members. Never was.
They actually, somebody that, one of the members of the company called him and told him to get back on the ship, and he literally just told him, no, I'm not going back on. And so.
Jeez. Well, very good, very good.